In this module, you will use mesh again to animate the gramophone. Using another set of mesh nodes, you will learn how to duplicate an object and create some complex procedural animations. So here we are back in our Maya scene, and if you didn't complete the previous module or you want to follow along, you can open the file m2_07.mb in the scenes directory. In the previous module, we used mesh to animate the construction of the text and the floral shapes. In this module, we will use mesh as well, but a bit differently. In the previous module, we used cube instances to drive our original mesh. We attached these cubes to the geo to drive it using an explode node. Here, in this module, we will use the gramophone geo directly in our mesh network. We will make the gramophone appear part by part. Because we are going to use mesh influence node, I will need to position my gramophone at the center of the world. You'll understand why in the next clip. For doing that easily, I will go in the modify menu and click on center pivot. This will center the pivot in the middle of the gramophone. Then go back to modify and click on big pivot. This will calculate the position of the pivot according to the center of the world. Then in the channel box here, I will enter 0 in Y and Z. I would have entered 0 in X as well, but it was already the case. Just to work properly, I will hide the other objects in my way. So I will select the floor, the text, the floral shapes, and I will do a Ctrl H to hide them. Now, to have a cool construction effect, I will need my gramophone to be in several parts. By chance, this guy has been modeled in several pieces and then combined together before exporting the OBJ. So first, let's make sure the modeling menu is selected, and then select the gramophone in your outliner, then go to the mesh menu, and then separate. As you can see, we don't have anymore the mesh icon here, like the floor for example, but instead we have a group, and in this group, the gramophone, but separated in several parts. So cool, we are going to feed a mesh network with all these parts. But before, just to be clean, let's select all the polysurfaces of this group and go to Edit, Delete by Type, History. Okay, let's do this. Make sure all the polysurface objects inside the gramophone folder are still selected, and then change here for the animation menu, and go to Mesh and create a mesh network. This mesh network is created, but weirdly, I have only a small piece of the gramophone here and not the entire object. Let's see why. First, open your attribute editor. In the previous module, we talked about the distribute node, but we didn't talk about the repro node. Like the distribute node, this node is created automatically when creating a mesh network. It allows you to list all the geometries connected to your mesh network. As you can see here, we have all the gramophone parts, but only the first one is displayed. I can change that by modifying the order, but how can I display all of them? Well, by default, Mesh is always distributing only the first object of the list piped in the Mesh network. Let's fix that. To have the other geos, I will go back to the Mesh tab here and add an ID node. This node allows you to use your different geometries in your Mesh network. Here, you have the ID counts, which listed automatically all the objects we have in the Repro mesh. But I can remove some of them if I want by reducing the ID count. Here is not what I want, so let's come back to 8. As well, this node can be used to randomly assign objects to the mesh points, if I use the ID type random for instance. Or the cycle mode will cycle through the IDs and change each frame. You have here a couple of options to influence how the cycle mode is working. The last mode here is the fix ID, and you can use that if you want to use only one object in your list. Here, you will have just to choose the object ID. The ID of each object is defined in the Repro node. For example, if I assign here the ID 4 and I go inside the Repro node and I change the position of the object here, as you can see, the object in my viewer is not the same anymore as it takes the ID 4. Okay, so here we want all the objects to be here, so let's go back to the ID node and set the mode to linear and make sure we have 8 count here. Great, then now in the next clip, we will lay out the part properly with the distribute node and then animate it with the influence node. See you there.